All right, so time for another comic review, and this is another book sent to me by my friend Chris. Thank you as always, brother. And today we're going to be talking about Metal Society. Thought we'd do an indie book today. This is by Zach Kaplan, who I recently in the sense that like it was a few months ago, reviewed another book of his called Kill All Immortals, which I really enjoyed. So this one has been kind of sitting on the bench, and I decided, you know what, it's been kind of sitting there for a little bit. And it's a mini series, so I thought I'd just crack it open real fast, just to kind of break up the Marvel DC stuff. Even though, yes, I'm well aware the Marvel DC comics get more eyes on them, but yeah. So, what is Metal Society about? Metal Society, the best way I can describe it is Rocky meets I Am Robot. That is the best way to describe it. The series follows a woman named Rosa and a robot named Wall, 421313. But we'll just call him Wall for the rest of the story. And it follows them going into a big fight with each other. Essentially, humanity lost. It's kind of hinted that there was a war between man and human and robot, and the robots won. And now humans are used as like slave labor, or they're like humanity is second-class citizens, but Rosa is basically trained as an MMA fighter to more or less be like a mouthpiece for human rights over the robots. And keep in mind, it's not like robots are cruel about it. It's not like here this and this. It's more like robots are like I said, humanity is more treated as like a second class citizen in this story. That's kind of the big thing. That's kind of the big draw of this book, is that it's not your typical robot, overlord thing. But yeah. So Rosa is basically challenging a machine to a fight, and that robot is Wall. Wall was originally a construction robot who, in robot society, if they robots are capable of speech and independent thought, so if they have problems, they can have trial by combat and stuff. So Wall is a fighter, but his life I'll get to that in a bit, but his life kind of leads to the big fight, which essentially, in this 5-part miniseries, it's more about the lead up to the fight. We see in the first issue them getting ready to fight, and throughout the other issues, we see them slowly building up to said fight throughout the story. And that's kind of what the book is the final issue. The 5-issue miniseries is Wall and Rosa's fight. Now, what I like about this book is that you'd think like how they treated it first is like Rosa's our protagonist. She's going to be our hero against the big bad robots, and she's going to fight for humanity's rights and all that. And then we get to another issue where we follow Wall, and Wall, he's not evil either. He's like, I never really cared much for humanity, but now humanity's taking jobs away from, I was a construction robot, and then robot society decided that humans are better labor. You see where we're going with this, right? So he's kind of got a minor grudge because after losing his job and then losing his wife, essentially, he basically decides, I'm going to be a fighter full time, and I'll be the one to fight Rosa. So there's no villain here. The villain is society. That's really what it is that neither Wall nor Rosa are the bad guys. It's very much like in Rocky, where we see some of Rocky's life, and then we cut to, Apollo, and Apollo isn't really a bad guy either. He's arrogant, yeah, but he's not a villain in his own story either. So it's kind of like that. Again, going to that Rocky connection. So that's really what the story is about. Is these two people who have had very different lives, because Rosa is not really your typical human. See, humans are grown in like vats, like clones, and Rosa's a 3rd generation clone. But she is discovering that mankind is like making humans, and there's a great touching moment. She's like, they're so small. Like, you guys are allowed to breed humans, and they're like, no, this is kind of illegal, but you can hold her, and it makes her realize that, yeah, there's some problems here. The comic is, like I said, it's got some solid it's got some solid commentary on like how society views immigrants, as well as views citizenship and things like that. That's the real core of this comic, and I really do like that. I really do enjoy the commentary here. Kaplan did that a lot with Kill All Immortals, basically a story with like Highlander meets John Wick, but also it talks about like shadow money and dark government, and government insight, and also how the 1% can just get away with everything, like true sci-fi faction, like a true sci-fi story. Like I said, both characters are really engaging, and how the comic ends is not how you would expect it. That's what I really like about it, is that the comic ends in a very unexpected way. And again, you really want to root for both of them. You really follow both Wall and Rosa throughout this story. You follow them, you see why they're fighting, you see what they're fighting for, you see that they're not really like, Wall's like, I don't hate you, and Rosa's like, oh, I don't hate you either, I'm just doing this for my people, and Wall's like, well, yeah, I'm doing this for my people too. So it's a really neat story. You'd think like in a normal comic, you'd think that Wall would be like this big Billy badass robot who'd be like, I'm going to crush you in the name of humanity, and Rosa's our hero. But no, it's literally the embodiment of everyone's a hero in their own story, and I like that. I really do appreciate that with a comic like this. This is it's a solid comic. It's a nice little mini series too. Like it's a really solid miniseries. I think if you enjoy things like I Am Robot, you're probably gonna like this. I think if you enjoyed like the Isaac Asimov stuff, I would say give this a look, definitely. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much my review of Metal Society. Really solid comic. Zach Kaplan. I haven't read a lot of his work, but now, like, between Kill All Immortals and Metal Society, dude is definitely someone, if he ever comes over to the Marvel DC books, I am quite curious to see what he will come up with in terms of, like, what he could write. Also, I'm very aware that, like, every other video has been a comic review. I'm very aware. It's just I've been kind of tearing ass across comics that Chris has sent me. So, yeah, it's not that I'm, like, just throwing them out there willy-nilly. It's just I'm reading them pretty fast. So, it keeps eyes on the channel and, keeps me in the algorithm and all that. So, yeah, Chris, thank you once again for this comic. And if you have read this book, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of it. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the multiverse.